Check.
I got a soft one. But I think you get to take a taxi there and there's pop down to the exhibition going.
That's just me walking over. Just over.
Slight delay, but that's it. Yeah.
Thanks.
There's a stick.
Yeah, they have colors on it. So learning your shit.
No.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
Just so.
That totally makes sense.
I brought it. That's a bowl of food. Any strict 2 days ago. Oh, yeah. I didn't know what it was, yeah. Okay, I didn't know the name of it.
It's just we're not leaving, huh? What are you doing? We have lots of time. It's only we leave at 8. Yeah, it's but it doesn't go fast. No. Yeah, they're great. I'm a little bit biased, obviously, but yeah.
Doug Wright Awards. Let's show town.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No, feel free. If there's a problem, I don't need this here. I can sit
Sure, yeah.
This is a Toronto thing, we like to live Tom Thompson was in the middle because he died before.
Okay, wait.
Lauren Harris. Carmichael. It would be a lot cheaper to buy it.
Okay, guys, we're going to get started. If you want to take a seat.
Oh, yeah.
You guys want to take your seats? We're going to get started.
This one that gave me that bonus too. It was like,
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'd first like to, on behalf of TCAP as an organization, we'd like to honor and acknowledge the original caretakers of this land where the festival is hosted. The Anishinaabe, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people. The festival is hosted on a territory that is subject of the Dishwit-Wansdoon Wampum Belt Free Covenant and agreements between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, Haudenosaunee, and allied nations to share and care for the land. We also acknowledge that this treaty is covered by Treaty 13 of the Mississaugas of the Credit. Thank you all for your attention and coming out.
Prior to starting, I must say, if you're going to be up on stage tonight, please speak as loudly as you can. We're not amplified. Thanks for putting up with this year. It's a different thing for us. We hope to be back indoors next year, but this is where we're at this year.
this is better. This is better.
Okay. Welcome to the 18th Annual Doug Wright Awards. Please welcome Chair of the Doug Wright Awards Foundation, Brad
Hello, all. My name is Brad McKine. As he said, can everybody hear me back there? Great. I am the chair of the Doug Wright Awards Foundation, which puts on the awards every year, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our 18th annual awards ceremony and our first live in-person event in 3 years, and also the first to be held in the gaudy showiness of nature. I think I speak for everyone when I say that the Doug Wright Awards pivot to a pre-recorded ceremony in the past few years was unexpected but remarkably seamless. To me, when I compare it to all of the other events that pivoted to online, I thought it was fantastic, and I want to give full credit to our executive director, Conan Tobias, for managing to pull it off without a hitch. Which is something that could never have been said about me when I ran the awards, I should say. It was always a hit. comedically overpriced hotel parking, comedically overpriced drinks at the hotel bar, and comparing juicy industry gossip. So welcome back. But seriously, the best thing being back in person is looking out and seeing so many familiar faces in the audience, of which a couple of people I prepared jokes for are not here, so I will make them. But I noticed that Dave Collier is here.
I brought a stick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
No, but
Dave's Ronan, all security.
I'm glad there's something
put this on the table. And this is Canada.
So unfortunately, Dave won't be presenting an award this year on stage.
Nick makes up for it.
The Nick makes up for it, but to make up for it, we had Conan rename a nearby cross street in his honor, which is Collier Street. So congratulations.
It's a lot of effort.
It was a lot of effort, but he pulled some strings. And then also Dustin Harvin, I think, is in the audience. Dustin. No claps for Dustin.
No, come on.
He's American. He is our honorary Canadian cartoonist, 3-time host of the Doug Wright Awards. He's our honorary Canadian American who desperately wants to be Canadian. Which I should say get in line. It's like a long line of American cartoonists who want to come to Canada. And seriously, maybe Conan can like pull some strings and get some citizenship for him. So he could be nominated and lose the Doug Wright Award. No? Hard.
That's really harsh, Brad. Couldn't he be winning?
You're next.
Okay, okay.
And next, of course, Seth and Tanya are here. Tanya was lovely as usual. Seth is here. Congratulations to Seth, who is, you may not have heard, but he's inducted into the, as a Chevalier of the Order de Arts and Letters of the French government at a ceremony at the French Catholic General's House last night. So congratulations to Seth. Actually, if you don't know, Chevalier is like the first entry point in the order. And Chevalier is knight in French, which is really perfect for Seth. Because not only do you get a lovely medal to wear, but it means he finally has a use for all those suits of armor he's been collecting. So Tanya, that's why.
Put on boots.
Yeah, anyways, so some of you might be asking yourself, what are the Doug Wright Awards? I'm glad you asked. The Doug Wright Awards are a non-profit foundation committed to supporting and celebrating the best in Canadian comics. Primarily we do this through our awards ceremony, which has been holding annually without interruption for 18 years now. Our mission is to cast a spotlight on Canadian comics and the people who make them. Sorry, I'm waiting for this to go quiet. So I urge you, if you happen to decaf already, kick off the nominated. We're 2 for 3, and seek out the creator and getting them signed. Over nearly 2 decades, we've handed out more than 50 Doug Wright Awards trophies to an all-star lineup of Canada's best cartoonists. Brian Lee O'Malley, Michelle Rabagliati, Julian Tamaki, Jordan Coleman is here, Rico Tamaki, Kate Wheaton, Sammy Alwani is also here, Mark Bell, David Collier is here, Lise Gravel, Hartley Wynn, Seth, Jesse Jacobs, Michael Ford. So yeah, it's a good list. So everybody's nominated. Congratulations tonight. That is a good group of people to be in the same breath as. Each year we hand out 4 trophies in 4 categories, which are scattered across the table because we don't want them to fall over and break. Best book, The Nipper, Pigskin Peter's Award, The Egghead. In order to be considered, a book must have been published in the previous calendar year. This year we received 147 entries from more than 40 publishers, which included nearly 3 dozen self-published works. Each category is judged by a diverse 3-member jury made up of cartoonists, the experts, or those with deep knowledge and appreciation of the medium. Thank you to the judges who did it. I don't want to name them all, but you can go on the website and on the list of all the judges. Most are judged on quality of illustration, writing, and production. In addition to our awards categories, we also take time every year to honor Canadian comics history by inducting cartoonists into our Hall of Fame. It's called the Giants of the North, and this year inductee would be Margaret Boyd Graham, the Toronto children's book creator and best known for her work on the Harry the Duty Dog series. Very popular in our house, my kids growing up. And of course, the Wright Awards take their name from master cartoonist Doug Wright.
some feedback over the years, and I think it's especially for Phyllis. We visited her 2008, around then, and her sons talked about doing this.
90th birthday.
And her 90th birthday, that's
Yeah.
right. And we pledged over the years to try to finish off what we started. Glad to say we're doing that, so it's fun to do, Phyllis. Coming to put the campaign together as we speak, and had a chance to look at some of the perks and incentives it's come up with, and they're great. So I would urge you to keep an eye out for it. The campaign will be launched very soon, and support it if you can. You can tell us if you want to receive notification or updates on the project. You can email us or drop us a line on Doug Wright Awards. Sorry, water. As I'm sure you know, we couldn't do this show every year without our valued sponsors, dedicated volunteers. This year, volunteer-wise, I'd like to thank Miles Baker, Eva Rafa, who's right here, Mysterious Cards. He's been with us
For many years.
right since the beginning.
Yeah.
You need a jacket.
Yeah.
Alex Hoffman was happy to see today. Tyrese Gravel, we did our poster. Michael Thorner, John Montgomery, and Adrian Doran. And I also want to thank our sponsors, Toronto Life, Valley View Artist Retreat, Pencil Magazine, Emily Carr University of Art and Design, Koyama Provides, Strange Adventures, Comics and Curiosities, Paddle Creek, The Beguiling, and of course, PCAP. Now I'm very delighted to introduce you to our host for the 18th Annual Doug Wright Awards, film critic and Conan Tobias lookalike, Richard Crouse.
Thank you. Welcome to the windiest award show ever. Pleasure to have you all here. Thanks for having me. Giving me an opportunity to wear a suit. I have a reason to wear a suit.
Yeah.
Seth is nodding appreciatively.
Of course,
you know.
absolutely.
Yeah, at least we're not wearing hazmat suits here.
Yeah,
today, so that's
exactly.
good. You know, it's a pleasure to look around and see everybody here. We've all had a long 2.5 years of being alone and locked down and whatever your situation might be. But while I've been sitting at home trying to figure out how to make sourdough bread in my Instapot, you've all been working to help make the time go a little faster for me and people like me who like comics and love graphic novels. And you can do that by creating and releasing these amazing books that we're here tonight to celebrate. Whether it was Sleemore Gank, Birdland #1, setting a story 100 years after the fall of an imaginary civilization, or the life and times of the real-life daughter of Charles Darwin, Eddie Darwin, and the Four-Pebble Problem, or the examination of the experiences of the interior lives of the Cyclops community, Encyclopedia Exotica, I can't imagine what the last 2.5 years would have been like if we hadn't had the benefit of your craft to help pass the time. So give yourself a round of applause. I mean, the pandemic taught us many things. Tonight, we're learning, I think we should remember, that one of the best ways to not turn an event like this into a super spreader event is to have good ventilation. So think about that as you're sitting there having you're freezing and other people are getting blown around.
Yeah.
Think about that. But also, one of the lessons, the other lesson that the pandemic taught me was the importance of art and how art matters in good times and in bad times. Storytelling is very, very deeply in all of our DNA, and sharing stories, no matter what form that might be, helps to transport all of us to different places, to different worlds where our imaginations can run free, even if we're locked down at home and can't get out and do the things that we typically would do. It's really important. Most importantly to me, though, it feels as though the stories that all of you tell and enjoy help build a community, and we're seeing that community here tonight, and I'm staring at it, and it's a really beautiful thing to see how everyone's come together to celebrate this story. Stories that are told. I know, there's going to be a lot of of this tonight.
Yeah.
The stories that you told connected all of us. They helped us stop feeling as lonely perhaps as we might have felt. And they made the time go just a little bit faster. And tonight we're here to celebrate that. So, a couple of things. You don't have to socially distance from your award. Give it a hug. It's been a long 2.5 years. You deserve it. And let's get things started. The first award that I'll be giving out tonight, the Egghead, the Doug Wright Award for the Best Kids Book. It recognizes the year's best book aimed at children aged 0, pretty young, to 12. The award takes its name from the Doug Wright original unused name for his signature character, Nipper. The winner of the Egghead receives a trophy and a small cash prize. To present this year's Egghead, please welcome David Craig, a past Egghead nominee and one of the judges in this year's Best Book category.
Specifically for young readers. The 6 nominees for this award have demonstrated a mastery of storytelling through illustration. These artists have created books that engage young minds and celebrate their perspective and experience. The nominees for the 2022 Egghead Award are Simon and Chester, Super Sleepover by Cale Atkinson, published by Tundra Books. Otter Lagoon by Mike Diaz and Nancy Diaz, published by Orca Book Publishers. Living with Viola by Rosanna Fang, published by Annick Press. Shirley and Jamila's Big Fall by Jillian Gertz. Over the Shop by Joarno Lodson and Kin Lam, published by Kendall Press. And finally, Etta Darwin and the Four Pebble Problem by Lauren Saloy, published by Tundra Books. And the Egghead goes to Shirley and Jamila's Big Fall by Jillian Gertz.
Selected or am I getting it? Is there no one here to accept the award? Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate getting this award. I really enjoy it. It's going to my cat. We will pass this along, of course, to the winners, and we will see that they've been stuck. So, thank you.
The second award of the evening is the Pigskin Peter, the Doug Wright Award for Best Small or Micro Press, sponsored by Routledge Magazine. This award is given to a book not published by a particular press. Everybody hang on to whatever you can. Is named for a popular character in Jimmy Freeze's comic strip, Bird's Eye Center. The winner of the Pigskin Peters receives a black bowler hat, which will come in handy tonight, similar to the one worn by the award's namesake, and a small cash prize. Here to present the 2022 Pigskin Peters Award is the 2020 Pigskin Peters winner and a featured guest at last year's CCAF, Freddie Carrasco. Freddie's not here.
Did everyone get blown away?
I'll read the nominees then for the by Sophia Allerpon, self-published. Fruit Soil by Kim Edgar, published by Monitor Press. The Northern Caves by Akishu Chislett, Chris Caldwell, Cole Paul, David Sharp, Julian Fisher, Esther Boudet, Allison Creech, Jennifer Bonack, and and the winner is Wellings number 2 by David.
I like it.
Came dressed in it.
Yeah.
It might not stay on me.
It might not stay on for long. Put it on for a moment.
That's a big one. That's the best one.
Oh, congrats, baby.
He's like,
Wow. Hi, I'm Jay. This is my first ever award for making comics. Thank you very much to the Doug Wright crew, especially for including me in this grouping of such great work. It's a great year. For a small press, this is amazing. Thank you to Michelle Branna, my once and current publisher. With whom I share this award. I could not have done this without him. He does all the hard stuff. He couldn't be here today, so I work on his behalf. And thank you to Melanie. Where did she go? Hi! Because even though you don't really give much of a shit about comics, or horror for that matter, you convinced me this was a good idea. It was a very weird idea, but you said it with full sincerity. Like that fired up my butt, so thank you. 14 years ago, a lot of you know this, I was institutionalized for a nervous breakdown and diagnosed with major depressive disorder. And while I was at my lowest, my therapist told me that making comics, which I had done exclusively for over a decade, was probably the worst thing I could do. With the deadlines and the pressures and the rejections and the fluctuating income. And for a long time, I took that seriously. I tried not to make comics for a long time. I was selling art supplies to Zach as well for 4 years there. Fortunately, I got a second opinion, my opinion, and I decided that making comics actually brought me way more joy than the stress counteracted, and I'm very happy to be back. Thank you for
Our next award tonight is the Dipper, the Doug Wright Award for the Best Emerging Talent, sponsored by Koyama Provides. This award, given to an author or team early in their career and deserving of wider recognition, is named in honor of Doug Wright's signature character. The winner of the Dipper receives a trophy, a small cash prize, and a week at the Valley View Artist Retreat in Caledon, Ontario. Here to present the 2022 Nipper Award is the 2018 Nipper Award winner, Jen Woodall.
Hi, I'm Jen. Is this loud enough?
Yes.
So I'm here to present said, the nominees this year are Sophia Alarcon for End Sickness #1, self-published. Sammy Alwani for The Pleasure of the Text, published by Columbia Press. Richard Archambault for The Fiasco Project, published by Columbia Press. Alexander Laird for Seymour Gang, Birdland #1, self-published. And lastly, Kat Simmers and Ryan Danny Owen for Passing By Non-Fiction and Passing By Electric Bike, published by
Well, I think it's great people are chipping.
Wow, thank you so much. I was joking with my friends that I don't know if you all saw the clips of Jennifer Lopez not getting nominated for the Oscars and she was crying. So I was really worried that that would be me tonight and I would have to be escorted out of the award ceremony. This is a huge honor. I really, really appreciate it. I mean, I know, I feel like there's a feeling in the community that to take awards like really seriously and want them really badly is like not so cool, but it's really meaningful to me. And it's like, it's not really about the award. Like I spent like 7 years working on this book and I kind of like poured my entire soul into it and I tried to make myself like really vulnerable while I'm doing it. And so, when you make yourself vulnerable and nobody responds and nobody cares, that sucks. But when you do it and you get validation from your peers and your community, it's hugely meaningful. And the most important thing is that I just want like as many people as possible to see the book. And so hopefully this will, get it out in the world a little more, and it'll help to get the next book out there because I really just want to spend my entire life doing this, and this is like the most important thing in the world to me. So thank you, everybody. There's a bunch of people I want to thank. Sorry. I just want to like say all of my friends because I mean there's too many to count. That was my friend. And also everybody who's sort of helped in giving me an opportunity over the last making of this book. So everyone on the jury, obviously everyone at Conundrum and Angie Brown, my friend Simon Hanselman, Jack Cohen, Eric Reynolds, Nick Gazin, Joe Ullman, Bill Cardelopoulos, Ben Catshore, Peter Berkmo, everyone at the Beguiling, Annie Koyama, and my boyfriend John. So thank you, everybody.
Each year, the Doug Wright Awards inducts a new member into the Giants of the North, the Canadian Cartoonists Hall of Fame. This year's inductee is Margaret Lloyd Graham, a children's book author and illustrator, best known for co-creating the book Harry the Dirty Dog. Here to induct Margaret is Seth, author of Clyde Fans, co-founder of the Doug Wright Awards, and as of last night, a Chevalier in the Order of the Arts and the Letters for significant contribution to the enrichment of French cultural institutions. Congratulations on that.
Normally, I hang the medal around the winner, or present it to a family member, but the family members there's not a family member available this year. Margaret passed away in, let me see what year it is, 2015. And I've been asked to read the following note. Can everyone hear me? Is that okay? I've been asked to read the following note by Mindy Menschel on behalf of Margaret's niece, Wendy Sherwood, and her family. They are currently away in Newfoundland on vacation, and unfortunately could not attend the summit ceremony, but are accepting the award on Margaret's behalf. Here's what they wrote in shorthand. Margaret would have been delighted to be honored as a Canadian artist. Canada was her birthplace, and as part of her identity, and we're quite sure she would have smiled wryly at being named a Giant of the North because she was a rather petite person. Margaret loves to draw. She was determined to make art her career at a time when very few women were welcome in the world of graphic design and illustration. In her home in Cambridge, Massachusetts, she built a beautiful light-filled studio that opened onto her garden. Always busy, she spent hours at her art table, illustrating a new book, reviewing the latest Harry edition, and working on multiple personal drawings and art projects. Long after her publishing life was over, Margaret continued creating. For years, she was part of a group of artists who gathered every week to practice life drawing. She volunteered at a local elementary school where she demonstrated to Harry-loving kids how to draw everyone's favorite dirty dog. And she was always sending illustrated notes, often droll and witty, to friends and family. Margaret made drawing her life's work, and it sustained her into her 90s. Thank you for honoring her work today. And now I'm going to read a little bit about Margaret Bloy Graham from my own perspective. Margaret Bloy Graham, born November 2nd, 1920, and died January 22nd, 2015. Children's book artist, winner of 2 Caldecott Awards in 1950 and 1953. My first awareness of Margaret Bloy Graham as an adult was back in the late 1980s. I was visiting Maurice Bellecoop that day in his apartment, and he pulled a couple of her children's books off the shelf to show me. I've always looked up to and trusted Maurice Bellecoop for his excellent taste, so I was curious to see what they were all about. One of the books was Harry the Dirty Dog, and the moment I saw it, I recognized it as a favorite childhood children's book, though I had probably not given it a single thought in the intervening years. Around this time, I was rather obsessed with the cartoonists of the old New Yorker magazine, and I saw in Bloy Graham's work the same exciting mid-century vibe, the clean lines, the modern shapes, the carefully organized backgrounds, and the broad, charming cartoon styles of the figures. That was the day I became a Margaret Bloy Graham fan. I still am. It took me more than a few years to track down all of her books. And it was a goal pursued relentlessly, and I did it. Let me tell you, in those pre-internet days, you had to do some serious digging to find decades-old children's books. Now, I don't think children's books and comics are all that naturally related, beyond both being narrative and using words and pictures. For the most part, they operate very differently. However, some children's books artists are definitely cousins of cartoonists. There were quite a few of this type in the 40s to the 1960s. H.A. Ray, Curious George, Virginia Lee Burton, Mike and Steve Shovel, something like that, and Adrian Adams, Bernard Weber, Maurice Sendak. You know, these people were all cartoonists. Margaret Bloy Graham is certainly among this group. Her books are laid out and they're told like a cartoonist would tell a story. Action follows action in a comic strip manner. Basically, her two-page spreads are just big panels. Personally, I think her best books were the ones she did with her husband, later her ex-husband, Steve Zion. The Harry the Dirty Dog book. The Harry the Dirty Dog books, really great. The Plant Dinner, and my favorite of all her books, Dear Garbage Man. This utterly charming book follows a new garbage man on his first day at work, and with a typically 50s attitude, it instructs you that recycling is a big waste of time. At the conclusion of the book, all the stuff nobody wants any longer just ends up happily at the dump, which is probably why it's so hard to find old children's books. Anyway, somewhere during those years, when I discovered Joy Graham, I also found out that she was Canadian, and that made me like her even more. I also found out that the original art to Harry the Dirty Dog, her most famous book, has been donated to every subway car has to come through one of the artwork for Harry the Dirty Dog was donated to the Osborne collection right here in Toronto at the Lillian H. Smith Library. And I'll tell you something, you can go there and you can look at the art. You can request to see it. I've done this several times, and you should go and see the art. It's beautiful, and you can learn a lot by looking at the originals of artists like this. You should go. Anyway, in 1995, I wrote Margaret a letter, wondering if she might like to be interviewed. She wrote back politely, suggesting that perhaps one day in the future we might meet for a cup of coffee. That seemed positive. But of course, I never heard from her ever again. Now that I am much older, and have had many such letters written to me, I know that from answering these requests, that a possible cup of coffee in the future means I will never see you again in my life. So fair enough, Margaret. That's fine. I understand. Though I still regret the loss of that interview because there are precious few interviews of people like Margaret Boyd Graham writing or talking about their own life. But looking through my collection of books, I found one from a 1964 reference book titled More Junior Authors. Here's what she wrote. With a slight edit. I was born in Toronto, Canada. When I was a year old, my family moved to Sandwich, Ontario. Sandwich was a very nice old town with lots of space to roam about in. It was on the Detroit River, which was a source of endless entertainment to my brother and me. I loved being taken to the theater in Detroit and to the Children's Museum there. Summer holidays were spent with my grandfather in England or with my aunt in the United States. As a child, reading meant more to me than drawing, and as I grew older, reading became my favorite pastime. When I was 10, we moved back to Toronto, where I went to the Saturday morning class at the art gallery. There, we were never told how to draw, but were encouraged to draw things as we felt. While in high school, I went to art classes taught by a sympathetic and encouraging teacher, and as a result, my interest in sketching and painting grew. After high school, I went to the University of Toronto and majored in art history, with the vague idea of museum work or teaching as a career. I never considered that I might become an artist until one summer when I worked in the display department of a large store, which was probably Eaton's. The artists working there were encouraged to paint freely and expressively. It was exciting to do big canvases, and for the first time I began to think of myself as a creative artist. After graduation, I came to New York City to take a summer course at the Art Students League. Later, I decided to stay in New York, if possible, but with no practical commercial experience, it was difficult to get started in the art world. I became a silkscreen apprentice, worked for a printer, and later worked in the art department of a fashion magazine. Finally, I began to do freelance work. I did illustrations for magazines such as Vogue, Glamour, Town & Country, House & Garden, and 17. In recent years, I've been concentrating on doing picture books. I find that children's book illustration gives me great freedom for creativity and offers exciting possibilities as an artist. Now, even though that reads essentially as just a career biography, you do get some flavor of her early life and the usual difficulties of a young artist starting out. In fact, as Margaret's niece suggests, I imagine those difficulties were somewhat tougher than usual, being a young woman in early 50s, male-centric New York publishing. It's not a total surprise that she gravitated towards children's books. It was one of the few welcoming havens for women writers and artists in that era. You can see her work really develop in those early books. Leaps and bounds, every single book. Exciting reviews. Now, before I conclude, I'd like to linger on another favorite book of hers of mine, The Plant Sitter. This gorgeous book from 1959, written with Jean Zion, all moody greens and blues and yellows, It's the story of a little boy who takes the job of a plant sitter, taking care of other people's plants while they are away. Bit by bit, to his mother and father's chagrin, he fills the whole house with plants. He takes good care of the plants, and they flourish, growing bigger and lusher by the day. The house grows cramped. In the middle of the book, the boy has a marvelous, surrealistic dream where all the plants grow so dense that the very walls of the house burst off, leaving behind a perfectly plant-shaped house. A wonderful, crazy drawing. Beautiful. A real tour de force picture book and marvelously fun. The drawings are perfect, sweet, joyous, and like all her books, uses a perfect limited palette of colors. Go find a copy. It can't be that difficult. Everything is easy nowadays. Just go to Abe Books or whatever the fuck it is and buy a copy of this book. Check out her work. That is the way an artist survives death. Go read her books and bring her back to life. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry for being late. I traveled across the country to be here and then couldn't make it from the West End somehow. That was the hardest leg, but this means so much. I was in running and looking for a cab, and then in a cab, and then on a bus, being like, I better not win because if I miss it, I'm going to be so pissed. And here we are. But both of my books came out during pandemic, so this is like my first time being in front of anybody who also makes comics. It's just like I've been hermetically sealed in a fishbowl, so this really, really is wonderful. And thank you for giving me a moment despite breezing in woefully late. Thank you.
Before we present tonight's final award, Brad would like to say a few words about Phyllis Wright Thomas. That's Doug Wright's widow and one of our biggest supporters.
We noticed you're missing part of our audience sitting right in front. A family member or two, which is Phyllis Wright. And as well, we usually have her on stage handing out the awards with the staff. So, but unfortunately, COVID and recent surgery meant she was unable to make the trip to Toronto to be with us. But I know that she's watching because she's emailed me before, and that she never misses a ceremony. So, Phyllis, everyone here. Simply put, Phyllis is the heart and soul of the Wright Awards. She is really proud and rightfully protective of Doug's legacy. She's been unwavering in her trust and support over the past decades. Herself, Seth, Conan. I've said this many times, as we're saying as well, when Chris Oliveros and Seth and I showed up at her house 16 years ago, with this idea of doing an award ceremony, and then also doing a book. Most other women her age probably would have called the police or something and like ushered us out of her apartment, but she was super supportive, and she's supported 4 books being published, years now, the awards. So we couldn't and wouldn't have done it without her, obviously. So thank you for that, Phyllis. Yeah, so I was going to say, even when others might have had second thoughts, I chalked this up to her faith and exceptional sense of humor, which you can see if she's here today. And while she famously has 3 boys of her own, Phyllis will often quip that Seth Mona and I are 3 adopted sisters. And I can't think of a better honor. I think I can speak on behalf of Seth Mona and I and say she's a bit of an adopted mother to me. I think she was the second mother.
the Doug Wright Awards for Best Book, given to the best book of any kind published by a Canadian creator or team during the 2021 calendar year. The best book winner will receive a trophy and a small cash prize. Here to present the 2021 Best Book Award is the multi-time host of the Doug Wright Awards ceremony. Because he's an American, a cartoonist who can never hope to win a Doug Wright Award, help me welcome Dustin Harvick.
Hello, I'm Dustin. I used to host this, and then I guess they thought it wasn't a good idea anymore.
You couldn't afford your rates.
I'm going to talk really quick because I don't like when my voice is loud. It's not my best volume level, so, and I didn't write anything funny because my job is outsourced to some Canadian, and so I can't be asked. I am sorry to miss not to swear, which normally I say fuck or shit accidentally. Anyway, so here are the nominees for the best book, the winning book, the only good book. And they are The Shietsung Project by Brigitte Archambault, published by Conundrum Press. Encyclopedia Exotica by Aminda Dhaliwal, published by John Miller. The Rock from the Sky by John Fossey, published by Candlemas Press. Stone Fruit by Lee Lai, published by Fantagraphics. And Fictional Father by, hold on, I'm a nerd.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Oldman. There's a lot of great books on here except Joe's, and so I'm rooting for Lee because her book is on my bedside table right now. The winner is The Shietsung Project by Brigitte Archambault.
That's it. We braved the wind, the elements, the subway, traffic, in your case, the snap shenanigans. It was a great night. We survived it all. Thank you.